Hey, hi, hello. Normally my camera's not on, but I guess I'm gonna keep my camera on. We just did a bunch of the 7-star bug Samurott raids, and I made some slight changes to my raid builds. Obviously, we didn't know what its moveset was. That's how this always goes. We never know the moveset until it shows up. And I tried my best to go through the list of 400 Pokemon and narrow down what would be the best in a worst case scenario. So one of those worst case scenarios was if Samurott had Ice Beam, and that's surprisingly missing. There is no ice coverage to cover flying type Pokemon that would be super effective against Bug. And I think everyone was pretty shocked about that. Samurott's moveset ended up being Mega Horn, is expected, Aqua Cutter expected, Night Slash expected, Drill Run expected, but I didn't want to see. Bulldoze, which doesn't, that's weird. I guess it's there. Focus Energy and Swords Dance. Now, if you watched my last video, I pretty much said I expect Samurott to have Focus Energy, and even if it doesn't, I expect it to have high crit moves. It does. Aqua Cutter, Night Slash, Drill Run, they're all high crit moves. So combined with Focus Energy, those moves end up being 100% crit. That means something like Light Screen or Reflect does not work because crit will go through that. And ironically, or I guess not ironically, it has Swords Dance, which it doesn't end up using until the end of the raid. And Swords Dance to me wasn't that big of a deal because a lot of our Pokemon were running Chilling Water. So not only does Chilling Water reduce attack, which doesn't really matter until Swords Dance shows up because of Focus Energy, but it also helps you get to your Tera, and it works through shields just in case it did Swords Dance behind a shield. It doesn't do that. So you might have noticed that some of my EV spreads had a little bit of special attack, and that was purely because of Ice Beam. Drifblim, I believe, had 100 in special... Sorry, did I say attack? Special defense. Drifblim had 100 in special defense, and that was so it could survive 3 Ice Beams with crit, although Ice Beam doesn't have a high crit rate. And it doesn't have any special attacks. So the easy thing I could say is a lot of these builds, if you did put them into special attack, special defense, you can move those. But with Cloyster, for example, I did not do that. So my Cloyster is ultimately the same. I think Cloyster was the best, most perfect Pokemon that we built here. It's an absolute tank and it just doesn't die. So we have Chilling Water, Ice Beam, Life Dew, and Helping Hand. You can opt for Snowscape, which is totally valid. You might want to do Snowscape and Blizzard instead of Ice Beam. Totally cool. The thing is, Cloyster just doesn't die ever, and it's really great. So usually Cloyster leads with a couple Chilling Waters and then Life Dews in between, and then Ice Beam or Helping Hand. You probably get more mileage out of Helping Hand, honestly, than Ice Beam. But the cool thing about Cloyster is, yeah, I don't think I ever saw a Cloyster faint. We did about 30 raids, we had 2 fails, but 30 successful raids. I will say one of the 2 fails, we had 2 Cloysters on our team, and I don't know if they got super into it, but literally just one of the Cloysters needed to hit Life Dew and just keep hitting Life Dew, and we would have been fine. But they went really into just both Ice Beaming, which we didn't need. We had more than enough damage from stronger Pokemon that didn't have as high as defense. And if you're in a situation where you have 3 Pokemon that are doing way more damage than you, just Life Dew. You're still helping the team, you're still being a team player. It's incredibly helpful to do that. Even if the Pokemon have near full HP, a Cloyster's always probably going to go last. So you Life Dew even though you see full HP. Samurott will then do its attacks, and then Life Dew comes and then tops it all off and replenishes it. So that's just like a timing thing. I did not move my special defense out, and I still have not died. I think Cloyster is really great going into other 6-star raids, 5 and 6-star raids. So I think Cloyster is like, you could change and remove the special defense and maybe put in a special attack. But I think this build is great. I'm really happy with it. If maybe you were to build if you like playing with randoms online and you want to be that person, I think Cloyster is the #1 to play with randoms because of the fact that Cloyster doesn't die and because of Life Dew and keeping your team alive. The next here is Dragalge, and again, I didn't change any of the stats. I just changed the moveset a little bit. The biggest change here is we changed the Poison type Tera to Flying type Tera. Now, I was worried with Dragalge that Drill Run would mess it up, and it does. It's unfortunate, but Dragalge still works really great here. So what I would suggest for Dragalge is to lead off using Mud Slap. Once you get 2 or 3 Mud Slaps, you can switch over to Acid Spray, and then by that time, after the 2 to 3 Mud Slaps, 1 to 2 Acid Sprays, you're ready to Tera, and you will actually Tera to Flying. You should have a bunch of Tera Flying if you grind it out Decidueye, and that will avoid all of the ground type moves, and then you are rock solid. Now, I will say here, which I've never actually said in a raid video before, it's actually okay if Dragalge dies. And the reason being is even though you lose time to Dragalge dying, of course, you lose time to anyone dying, the Acid Spray Terra Blast combo that Dragalge gets once it's able to Terra Blast is worth the time sink because you do just so much damage when Samurott's -6 and you're using Flying Terra Blast. So you kind of really make up all of that. And once you Terra, you're less of a liability. You're going to notice a couple other Pokemon have Mud Slap. There's not a really good way to deal with Focus Energy because it's a turn 0 move, so you can't even taunt it. So I think Mud Slap is the best answer we can get. Tried Shuka Berry and Air Balloon, and I ended up just settling on Bright Powder. No problems with Dragalge after that. And we used a lot of Dragalge in our 30 successful raids. It's just such a powerhouse. It's a little harder to pilot. So I would say if you're not the best maybe player, I would maybe stay away from Dragalge. It's very powerful, but like I said, hard to pilot. And I noticed a thing, I don't think I've ever talked about this in the raid videos, is the raid boss only attacks you when you attack it. So why my Dragalge always seemed to stay alive versus maybe other people struggling with Dragalge is I would wait for a heal cheer or I would wait for a life dew. I know for sure that Dragalge can take a critical hit if it's 55 to 60% and still survive it. That would be the drill run. But if I was like 45 or 50%, probably not going to survive it. So before I hit Mud Slap or before I hit Acid Spray, I would just wait for a life dew or a heal cheer to come in, and then I would hit it. And that turn order lets you survive. So sometimes it's not a race in raids. If you know a Cloyster's sitting next to you and it's going to heal you, or you know a Toxapex is going to heal cheer, it's okay just to wait for it. The boss is going to not attack you until you hit that attack button. So you can just be a little patient with that because obviously it's worth it not to die. Okay, our next Pokemon is Drifblim. Another, I knocked it out of the park with this one, I think. Not to toot my own horn, I don't know. I really like Drifblim. I think it's fun to play. Air Slash, Skill Swap, Will-O-Wisp, Focus Energy. I did take the special defense here, moved it into special attack. This is pretty easy to play here. You're going to start off with skill swapping. You're going to take Shell Armor. You're going to give it, in my case, Aftermath. And then you're going to Will-O-Wisp, and then you're going to Focus Energy. And from there, you're just going to Air Slash, and hopefully, you know, your Toxapex or your Cloysters are healing you in between. But pretty straightforward. This goes back to how powerful Dragalge is. You will almost use all 15 Air Slashes if you have no Acid Spray support. If you do have Acid Spray support, you're done in like 4 or 5 Air Slashes. Keep that in mind. I think Drifblim is incredibly fun to play. A big disclaimer though, only one Drifblim can come to a raid because you need to steal Shell Armor first, and you can't steal Shell Armor if another Drifblim has already stolen it. I guess you could steal it from that one, but then they don't have it. So, and I said this, I think in the last video, if you faint, you come back without Shell Armor, which makes you a liability. So, that's up to the Cloyster players or somebody else, or just you, heal cheer. It's okay to waste one turn heal cheering instead of dying and then being a liability. This is the same Toxapex we built for Cinderace. No changes. I guess it survives the drill runs a lot better than Dragalge does, but drill run is still can be a problem. I think it's still worth it for the Acid Spray support. Again, you know, if you just take your time, heal cheer, if you have a Cloyster life doing, it's not going to be a problem. That has to do, you know, I do all these raid builds with the team in mind. I know there are a lot of people that do solo builds out there, but I try to make Pokemon that work together so you can play with a significant other, a partner, a friend in your Discord server instead of playing with randoms. But if you wanted to make a change to Toxapex, you could change its Terra type to Flying and run Terra Blast instead for that super effective Terra Blast. If it's worth the 50 shards, great. I know a lot of people we played with, they didn't do that and they were just fine. But the whole reason I had Toxapex on here is because people were like, can I bring an old Pokemon? And I was like, yeah, Toxapex is good. I built a new Pokemon for this raid, Salamence. I thought I caught a girl Bagon, but I guess I caught a boy. Is going to be Dragon Breath, Air Slash, or Terra Blast, Mud Slap, and Focus Energy. The reason I'm running Focus Energy is because I know I'm almost always playing with a Drifblim. So I know the Drifblim's going to steal the Shell Armor. If you are not playing with Drifblims that often, you just do Air Slash and Terra Blast. Or you could do Roost. Air Slash has a small chance of missing. Terra Blast slightly better, slightly stronger, doesn't miss. But this is going to be a huge damage dealer. Would pair really well with somebody who's doing Acid Spray. If you have no one on your team that's going to do Burn, Dragon Breath can fish for a 30% paralysis, which is, I think a raid boss being paralyzed is really helpful. Kind of the same deal here as Dragalge. I think leading with Mud Slap. So if you are in a situation with like a Dragalge, Cloyster, Krogunk, Salamence, I think if everyone who has Mud Slap leads with Mud Slap, it just makes the whole raid so much more easier. Again, it's kind of the one way to deal with critical hits. I hope you like the Salamence. I built it just for this video, for you to do that. It is modest nature. And then there'll be a pop-up somewhere in this video of what you can do. Finally, the last two that I don't have built, but I saw other people of the community playing, is the dog. He's still great. There was curiosity about why he was fire type. It's because you're normally playing the dog alongside Koraidon, so sun would be up, so you would take significantly less water damage. With Fluffy, I think Aqua Cutter would be a 4-shot. They would have to use it 4 times in a row in order to knock you out at full health. But if you Will-O-Wisp it, that ends up being a 5 to 6 shot. So again, the dog is meant to be played against physical Pokemon, with physical Pokemon like Corviknight or like Koraidon. So it doesn't really work in the last 5 I just showed. And then the last one is Krogunk, which I haven't built, but we did a ton of raids with Krogunk. And it kind of suffered the same problem as Dragalge. If you looked at my original raid build, I said, depending on its moveset, we might have to change this from fire to flying. That ended up being the case. Once you get to flying, you are home free. It again, kind of the same thing with Dragalge. If you die right away, that's okay. You're gonna Mud Slap 2 to 3 times. You're gonna switch over to Acid Spray. Once you can Terra, you top off your Acid Spray, and then you Terra Blast. And with Shell Bell and a -6 onto Samurott, every Terra Blast will get you back to full health. So even if you're taking 50% damage from something, I don't actually know what would maybe do that at that point, because you can't get hit by water and you can't get hit by ground. I guess Megahorn, if it hits you, might do like 46 to 50. You get it all back from Shell Bell. And Krogunk is the one that can solo this. So I'm not too big on soloing. I like playing with a group. I love doing raids with different people, seeing different Pokemon, seeing how different people play. But if you are going to solo with Krogunk, it's really easy. Like I said, you're going to open up with a couple Mud Slaps, and then you're going to switch over to Acid Spray. And it's really okay if you die. I would actually recommend dying. A good comparison would be when you battle the Elite Four in a Pokemon game. Let's say you're battling Cynthia, and you do a move that brings Cynthia down to 10 HP, and then she heals, but you're going to do the same move anyways, and she heals again, and your best option is still the same move. It's kind of like that for the raid boss against you. So when you are in a solo situation, if you're healing yourself, you're kind of wasting time, because they're going to just do the same thing to you, and you're going to have to play catch up. So with a Pokemon like Krogunk, I would just get to Terra as fast as possible, die. I know that sounds really weird. Come back in at full health, and then Terrastalize. And at that point, you will have set up. You will no longer be weak to ground, because you'll be flying Terra type. And every hit you do with Terra Blast, you will get all your health back. I think I said in my last video, Krogunk could go terribly wrong or really well. It goes really well in a solo situation or in a group situation. Again, we've had a Dragalge and a Toxicroak both faint, but once they come back in and they Terrastalize, they do so much damage that we finish with the timer almost still at like 40%, because they hit so much damage once they're able to Terra with Acid, and they both have Acid Spray, that's why. So I made some tweaks. If you need help, feel free to jump over on Twitch or our Discord. We'll be able to help you out. I hope you like the Salamence. I think it's really great. I know there are other options out there. That's the great thing about Pokemon, is there's a lot of different Pokemon that you can use. I'm going to keep trying to build Pokemon that work really well together, and that have really cool combos. And yeah, good luck with Samurott. If you like this video, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. It really helps it out. And whatever the next 7-star raid boss is, which I think may be Typhlosion, we will build the best counters we can for that. You know, if we need to tweak, we need to tweak. But I'm really happy with these Pokemon. I'm still, at the end of this, very surprised it wasn't running Ice Beam and instead Bulldoze. But, you know, I guess, you know, Game Freak wanted to surprise and delight us there. So, anyways, good luck with Samurott. And like I said, if you need any help, feel free to jump over at Twitch or Discord, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.